Hello viewers, welcome back to our study of protozoans. In the first video on protozoans, I introduced an acronym which gives us all the phylum or phyla, okay, all the phyla, let me use the word phyla, in protozoans, and I said it is what? Slammer, right? Please, if you have not watched the first video on protozoans, do well to do so because that lays a foundation on what we want to discuss now. If you leave the first video to watch the second one now, you may not understand what we are discussing. In the first video on protozoans, I've given us the general formula for or the general characteristics of the kingdom protozoans. Now in this second video, I'll continue from where I stopped, and I gave slammer to be the acronym for you to remember the 7 phylum on protozoans. Now looking at this now, we said that S in our first video stands for what? Phytomastigophora. Alright? Some texts may end it in REA, which is Phytomastigophora, or is the same for the same phylum. Now looking at this now, for Phytomastigophora, I'm going to be taking them one by one. So after this one I will enter this, after this I enter this. Alright? Maybe in this second video I will take care of these 3 if time permits me, and then in the next 2 videos, which will make it the last video on protozoans, I will take care of the remaining one. Phytomastigophora is a major phylum on kingdom protozoan. Remember I said we have, in the first video we said we have kingdom, phylum, so many things. That is using KPC of GS or using King Pharaoh cup of fen got spoiled. Do well to watch the first video. For Phytomastigophora, we have the following subphylum. These ones I want to write now are called the subphylum under this major phylum, Phytomastigophora. Now, you will remember this using the acronym. You remember 3 of them using the acronym. Okay, MOS. Alright, you remember the acronym using MOS. It then means that you can write SMOS. What it means that after Phytomastigophora, there are 3 what? There are 3 subphylum under Phytomastigophora. So you use the word SMOS to remember everything there. SMOS. So for the MOS, the M stands for what? Mastigophora. Mastigophora. And then O stands for what? Opalinata. Opalinata. And the S stands for what? The S stands for what? Sarcodinas. Sarcodinas. Alright? So, Phytomastigophora is a major phylum under protozoans, while we have 3 subphylum. I call these 3 things here the subphylum. Alright? So the 3 subphylum we have is Mastigophora, Opalinata, and Sarcodinas. I will now move on to Mastigophora. So coming here now, Mastigophora are grouped into the following. Majorly 2 groups. Alright? We have the one that is called the Phytomastigophora, and the second is called the Zoomastigophora. Alright? The Phytomastigophora and the Zoomastigophora. From the word phyto means plant. It then means that Phytomastigophora, all of them, all the organisms we have here, they contain what is called, all of them contain chromoplast. Chromoplast, example is chloroplast. Then chloroplast contains what? Contains chlorophyll. Chlorophyll. So Phytomastigophora, from the word phyto, it means plant. Then zoo, from the word zoo, that means microscopic animals. So Phytomastigophora, all of them, all the examples you have here, they carry out photosynthesis because they contain chromoplast, which example is what? Chloroplast. And chloroplast contains chlorophyll. If you watch our video on PBB, plant biology, you will notice something that I said, that only plants that contain, only plant parts that contain chlorophyll are capable of carrying out what? Photosynthesis, because it is only the chlorophyll that have the power to trap down sun's energy or to absorb sun energy for photosynthesis to occur. Do wait to watch our PBB 1. That will tell you what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to go ahead to give us examples of the organisms. Like I said earlier, whenever you pick up AEB or PBB material to read, what do I mean by AEB? AEB means animal and environmental biology. PBB means plant biology and biotechnology. Any material or textbook you pick up to read that concerns these two courses, endeavor to look out for three things, and I call them the focal points. That's why I say you should watch the first video on Protozoans. These three focal points, I say you study the general characteristics. After that one, you look out for the classification, which is what we are doing here now. Then after classification, you should look out for examples of such organisms under the various classes you have classified. And that's exactly what I'm following now. For the examples of organisms that are Phytomastigophora, you will use this acronym, which I call BOM. You will use this BOM to remember everything. You will use VC pencil. VC pencil. VC pencil. What is V? Vovox. V stands for what? Vovox. C stands for what? C stands for Serratium. Serratium. P stands for what? Perenema. Perenema. E stands for what? Alright, let me bring everything up here so that you can see it very well. Look at what I'm saying here. Look at it. So let's bring it up here. Let's bring it up here. I want to give you examples of what now? Examples of organisms in what? That are what? Phytomastigophora. That's what I want to give you now. And I say for you to remember all of them, use VC, pencil. Very important. The examples are important. Very, very important. The V stands for what? Vovox. The C stands for what there? We have Serratium. Serratium. And of course we have two C's. The first C is Serratium. And P. P stands for what now? Perenema. And then the E, of course, the E stands for what? Eublenaviridis. Eublenaviridis. Why the N there? The N stands for Noctiluca. Noctiluca. And then the other C stands for what? Chilomonas. Chilomonas. So this, my BOM, helps you. That's an acronym. I call it BOM. That will help you to remember everything, all the examples you have under Phytomastigophora. I say VC pencil. V stands for Vovox, C stands for Serratium, P stands for Perenema, E stands for Eublenaviridis. Of course, from secondary school, we learned that Eublenaviridis have both animal-like and plant-like characteristics. So it is also a Phytomastigophora. Noctiluca is there, and finally Chilomonas. These are examples of what now? Phytomastigophora. Please do wait to pause the video and copy out everything you need, because from time to time I'm going to rub off the board to continue. So in summary here, Phytomastigophora, which is this first S we have here, have 3 subphylum, which will have Mastigophora, which is M, or Palinata, which is O, and S, which is what? Sarcodemus. Now under the Mastigophora, what do we have? We have Phytomastigophora and what? Zoomastigophora. I've given you examples of Phytomastigophora. Up next, I'm going to give you examples of what now? Zoomastigophora. So permit me to wipe this board here now and continue from where I stopped. I will not above this because this is what I'm following as my guide. Slammer. Alright. I'm following Slammer as my acronym. Now, the next one, examples of what now? Examples of the Zoomastigophora. Examples of the Zoomastigophora. We have them as what I title. So use this bomb to remember it. There is also an acronym for you to remember this. And what did I call it? The T-cube-L. This tells us that there are 3 T's there and then 1 M. There is also the Guardian, which some textbook put, but I don't want to give you that. I would have written GT-cube-L, but I don't want to give you that. I'm giving you what exactly that is in your text, which you will meet in the exam. So the T-cube-L, the first T, I can say T1, stands for what? Trichonympha. And then the next T, T2, Trichomonas. And then the T3, which is what? Trypanosome. Of course, we know this one from secondary school, that trypanosome is a causative agent of what? A disease called trypanosomiasis, which is what? Sleeping sickness. When sessile fly bites you, what it gives you is this protozoan, which is called trypanosome. That tells us that all the examples you see here are parasitic. Alright? Because trypanosome, even from secondary school days, we learned that when sessile fly bites someone, it gives trypanosome. Trypanosome in turn causes a disease called what? Sleeping sickness. It is important I tell you in biology, there is a difference between vector, pathogen, and disease. Most times we are supposed to put it in tabular form, but I'm not teaching this now. But it is important I tell you the difference between these things now. What is a vector? A vector is an animal or a carrier of the disease-causing organism. For example, sessile fly is a vector. What is the pathogen that it carries? The disease-causing organism. So in definition, vector is an animal or an agent that carries a disease-causing organism. Pathogen, in the other hand, is the disease-causing organism itself, carried by the vector. Now, disease is what this guy causes on the organism. So, in other words, if we take sessile fly as an example now, we'll say that the pathogen is what now? What will I put here? Trypanosome. What does it cause? A disease called sleeping sickness. Alright? So, having said so now, we now have the 3 T's there, remaining the L. So let me quickly give you the L here. The L stands for what? Leishmania. It is important you follow the acronyms I've been giving you. That will make you to remember everything you study in AED. And that is why this video is very, very important for all the students offering this course. Alright? For an O-level student, you will need this video But after you have learned everything here, it then means you have learned it advanced, and it's even better, so that no matter the area where questions are coming from, you'll be able to get your accurate answer. Moving on with this. So with this now, I am done with Mastigophora. I am done with the Mastigophora. Up next is the one we call Labyrinthomophora. Okay, so let me write it in full. All right, there is nothing much for us to discuss here. Remember in the first video, I used the Y here. Some textbooks use that. Why some textbooks use the LABY? That's this particular one. So, Labyrinthomophora. It is important I tell you, from this lemma I mentioned earlier, from this lemma, we have the following. All the amas. So I will say all the amas are what? Parasitic. All of them are parasitic. All of them are parasites. All the amas are what? Parasitic. All the organisms you will see in Epicomplexan, Myxozoa, Microspora, and Acistospora, all of them are what? Parasite. That's why I said in my acronym, all the amas are what? Parasitic. Remember that I said in the first video that Coeliophorans, which stands for C, all the Coeliophorans are the most complex, and they are equally the largest phylum. All right, the largest phylum and the most complex phylum is Coeliophorans. It is important to state that the Coeliophorans are majorly free-living organisms. They are majorly free-living. What does it mean for an organism to be free-living? What does it mean to be free-living? To be free-living means, just like opposite of being parasitic. You are not a parasite. It then means you are free-living. You live on your own. You don't offend people. They don't offend you. You are free-living. Opposite of being free-living may mean to become what now? Parasitic. If an organism is not parasitic, it then becomes free-living. It is important I state that all the examples we have, of course, there is one major example we have under Labyrinthomophora, and it's a very, very, very strong parasite. And that is the only example I'm going to give here. Now, what about the Zoomastigophora? We said that some Zoomastigophoras are what? Parasitic. While some are what now? Free-living. So there are free-living forms and there are parasitic forms under Zoomastigophora. Moving on beyond this now, I'm going to now give you an example of Labyrinthomophora. But take note that in this lemma, all the amas are what? Parasitic. Parasitic. So, of course now, you are seeing that some of these organisms here, like I said, under the Zoomastigophora, they are parasites. Alright? Let me give you this one now before I come back to this place. Alright? Now, there is an example we have here. There is an example we have here, which is Labyrintula. We call it, so example of an organism that is a Labyrinthomophora is Labyrintula. And Labyrintula is a parasite. A parasite of what? Parasite of a grass we call eel grass. Please take note of the spelling, that the spelling is E-E-L. Alright? So it then means that Labyrintula is a Labyrinthomophora, and as such is a parasite, and they parasitize eel grass. Should you get that question in exam, the parasite of eel grass is what? The answer is Labyrinthomophora. That's a Labyrintula, an example of a Labyrinthomophora. Leaving that behind, that is all we will take on this. Coming back to the T-cube-L, which is examples of Zoomastigophora. Everything you are seeing here is a parasite. Now, parasite of what and what? Trichonympha. The Trichonympha, Trichomonas, and Trypanosome. I'm going to put them there now. Trichonympha. Trichonympha is a parasite of what? Parasite of termites. Parasite of termites. This one is well known. So the ones I'm giving you are the ones they will ask in the exam. Trichonympha is a parasite of termites. Of course, this guy is a parasite of man. These other two are parasites of both vertebrate and invertebrate. Of course, all of them here are parasites. So moving beyond this now, we are done with that guy. Coming back to what we have studied earlier, if you remember in our first video, I talked about the general characteristics of protozoans, and that is what is leading me to the aspect I want to teach you now. Do well to pause the video and copy out everything here now, because I want to enter the next phase of this video, and after this next phase, that will be the end for this video. So in the next video, I will continue from where I stopped. Now, taking you back to our slammer and the rest of the things we discussed. If you have watched the first video, I said that for general characteristics of protozoans, I said that protozoans reproduce. We said the protozoans reproduce. They reproduce by sexual and asexual means of reproduction. And I promise that in this next video, I'm going to tell you the sexual and the asexual mode of reproduction we have in protozoans. For sexual, if protozoans wants to carry out sexual reproduction, they do so by either carrying out what is called conjugation, or they carry out what is called orthogamy. Orthogamy. So conjugation or orthogamy, sexual reproduction in protozoans. For asexual means of reproduction, protozoans carry out asexual means of reproduction. Which are these? Number one is called the binary fission. Binary fission. Please look at the fission I used. I did not say fusion. Alright? This is not what I said. I said binary fission. Then the next one is what? They carry out what is called multiple fission. Multiple fission. Alright? And then there is also budding. Budding. It is important I tell you, because if you have not watched our PVB video, plant biology, do well to do so. The first video on plant biology, I gave hints on reproduction and nutrition. Alright, in that video I talked about a lot of things. So that in this video now, I'm making use of almost everything I talked about. Budding is a type of asexual reproduction. But it is important I tell you that budding is common to what? Coleophorans. Budding is common to coleophorans. Alright? But if you are asked in exam, the most common asexual method of reproduction by protozoans, your answer will be what? Binary fission. Some protozoans can also carry out multiple fission. And multiple fission is also called what? Schizogony. Schizogony. Take note of this. Multiple fission is also called schizogony. Another thing I want to tell you, when multiple fission involves fusion of gametes, we call it sporogony. Sporogony. Alright, sporogony, when this guy involves fusion of gametes. Now, having said so now, this is all we have in asexual and sexual means of reproduction. Maybe in the third video, I'll now start explaining them one after the other. But for now, I will have to continue where I stopped. Like I said earlier, there are parasitic protozoans. And I've given examples of such protozoans. Plasmodium is also supposed to be there, which is a parasitic protozoan. But moving on now, there is one last thing I'm going to talk about, because I've said I don't want my videos to be very lengthy. I'll be cutting the videos gradually until we get to the end of this chapter before we pick the next chapter. Moving on now, there's something I need to tell you. What is that thing now? Holozoic protozoans. Holozoic what? Protozoans. If you watch Protozoan 1, I said that protozoan carry out both autotrophic and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. And for Holozoic, this is a type under what now? Under heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now, Holozoic protozoans, examples now. Number one example we have there is amoeba. Is amoeba a protozoan? Yes. Is he holozoic? Yes. Amoeba is holozoic in feeding. What does he feed on? Amoeba feeds on what? Diatoms. This is an exam question. Please take note that amoeba feeds on what? Diatoms, if you are asked in the exam. Number 2 example, I said after this now, I will end this video. So in the third video, I will continue from where I stopped. I don't want the video to be very lengthy. The next one is what? Paramecium. Paramecium feeds on what? It feeds on what? Copepods. Copepod is an example of what? So copepod, I'll put in bracket, a crustacean. A crustacean. So copepod, paramecium feeds on copepod, and for such, it is what? Holozoic in feeding. Up next, which is number 3, which will be the last. Now we have Plasmodium. Good. Plasmodium. What does Plasmodium feed on? Of course, Plasmodium feeds on what? Red blood cells. So Plasmodium feeds on red blood cells. Of course, it is a Holozoic protozoan. There are other, it is important I say that Plasmodium is also a parasitic protozoan, at the same time a Holozoic protozoan. Before I end this video, it is important I tell you different species of what? Plasmodium we have. Species of Plasmodium. Number 1, Plasmodium ovale. 2, Plasmodium vivax. V-I-V-A-X. Plasmodium vivax. Number 3, we have Plasmodium malaria. Plasmodium malaria. And lastly, we have Plasmodium falciparum. Falciparum. This is the most effective. This is the most effective and the most dangerous. If you are asked in an exam, which of these species of Plasmodium is the most effective? Look at what I said. Most effective and the most dangerous. The answer will be Plasmodium falciparum. This is much we can take for this video. Remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to share this video in all class group chats so that your friends that need this video will benefit just as you have benefited. Alright? Do well to pause the video and copy out everything you need. Thank you and God bless you. See you in our next video.